So back in the day, before hyper-specialization, your typical standard motorcycle was supposed to serve as a platform for riding around town, touring across the country, maybe doing a little racing, and in some cases, off-roading too. That is certainly the spirit behind this machine, the Moto Guzzi V7 Stone 2. Established back in 1921, Moto Guzzi is one of the oldest motorcycle manufacturers in Europe, and their iconic air-cooled 90-degree V-twin engines with their longitudinal crankshafts are certainly one of the most unique-feeling motors to ever hang from a frame. The updated 750cc version used in the V7 Stone 2 is said to produce 50 horsepower and 40 foot-pounds of torque. And the Weber Morelli fuel injection certainly helps to deliver smooth power all the way up to 6,000 RPM. Suspension bits are fairly plain Jane up front. You'll find a 40mm fork there, while out back a pair of preload adjustable shocks help to soak up the bumps. The V7 Stone 2 is certainly a retro runner all the way. It can pull off running errands around town, and with some soft luggage would be perfect for a weekend getaway. Don't have to take my word for it. Let's hear from this week's guest road tester, Peter Gomes.
So Peter, what was your first impression when you pulled into the parking lot this morning?
I thought the Guzzi looked very classic. You've got the gaiters, you've got a sort of a cafe-looking bike, but for a new bike, it's got a very vintage feel, very retro feel to it, but handles a lot better.
So did you like the look of the bike?
Yeah, definitely. Like the matte silver finish looks great. The pipes look great. Like I said, the seat really suits the bike, and I find it, it's very versatile in the fact that you can modify it and still not completely change it.
What did you think of the engine when we fired it up this morning? What do you think of the sound, the mechanical sound of the engine? What do you think?
I definitely notice it's got a distinct sound. It almost bubbles or percolates. Very, very unique, which is something that you like in a bike. So it's got its own flavor to it.
Yeah.
So it was very different in this. I was expecting something different, but it was like a bubbling, percolating sound, which was unique to the bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that it had a lot of power first and second, and then it seemed like the gears never ended. Having 6 gears, it was very smooth at times. I found that switching gears, I wasn't quite sure if I was in gear, and it just kept going. But definitely off the beginning, it had a lot of torque to it, and you get it up to about 4,000, 5,000, and it's still pulling.
Yeah,
feels great. Yeah.
Did you find the suspension was okay for you? We were on a lot of bumpy back roads today, and that was for a reason. Did you like the suspension setup? Were you getting pounced around?
At times you can feel it in the back end as you're opening up the throttle, but there's a nice sweet spot that the bike sort of levels out at, and everything sort of comes together. And it's a really smooth ride.
Yeah. Tell me about the fit and finish of this bike. You're used to riding a vintage bike. You hang around with guys that ride vintage bikes. What do you think of the finish of this bike?
I think they've got a really nice classic look. You've got matte pieces here, and you've got a nice silver tank, which also complements the matte black. I think for a new bike that's coming from a classic look, they've done a really good job keeping the parts that were great about the Guzzis back then. I think everything works really well, and the color palette's really great.
So who would you recommend this bike to? What's it best for?
I think anyone who's looking for a classic bike that isn't just for the city. I think this is a great bike to do long distances, to sort of explore windy roads, to get out there and get out of the city. It's got a great seat for a secondary passenger, so you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
It's a bike that I think you can take an adventure with and not just put around town and look cool on.
Right.
So I would recommend it for anyone that's looking for an overall bike that's reliable and can take you places.
Excellent. Well, I hope you had fun today.
Had tons of fun.
That's great. Great
Thank
job.
you so much.
Thank you, man. That was great.